Let us now go over how you can load, save, import and export your work. Vi is a connected Onshape application. It runs within an Onshape tab, and at any moment you can save your work in two different ways. One option you have is to save it in the native Vi format, so you can then continue working on it within the Vi tab. Alternatively, you can send it over to Onshape within a new part studio. The interface for loading, saving, exporting, etc. lies on the left side of the screen. So let's first have a look at how you can save your work as a Vi model. For this, you click on the Save Model icon and you have two options. You can either save your model in a file on your local file system, for example your laptop, or you can save the model within your current Onshape document. So it will be saved in our native Vi format, but it will be stored within your Onshape document, so you can find it there next time you open it. I will do this. It takes a moment to send it over to Onshape, and it will appear at the bottom of the screen in a new Onshape tab. Here it is. Vi will also regularly autosave the current version of your work in a separate file which starts with an underscore. You can see it here in a different tab and contains the .as for autosave extension. If you don't want this, you can turn off autosave from the settings menu by clicking on the Start Stop Autosave button. The other option you have, as I mentioned before, is to send this over to Onshape in a part studio. To do this, you click on this icon, which says Send to Onshape Part Studio. You can specify a different file name if you want. This is fine. And we send it over to Onshape. This will take a few seconds to get to Onshape and be translated, but you can continue working while this is taking place. In a moment, you'll get a notification that the process is complete. And here we see a new tab that was created. This is a new Onshape Part Studio, which contains our work. Here it is, the Vi model exported within an Onshape Part Studio. Alternatively, you also have the option of exporting your work in other formats, specifically STEP or STL. If you choose STL, you can change the triangle resolution if you want, and then it will be saved onto your local file system. And the same for STEP. Now, if you want to start working on a new model, as mentioned before, you click on the Restart button. You get a notification that your current work will be lost if not already saved, and then you have three options. You can start from a default model that is provided for you, for example, a cube or a cylinder, as we've been doing in these tutorials, or you can bring in some model from an Onshape Part Studio. Or you can load a file that we have saved in the way that we described previously. Either from your local file system, you can browse or drag and drop, or from within Onshape. And here is the saved model. The second button is similar to the first one. It also allows us to load a model, but instead of replacing our current model, what we load will be incorporated in it. For example, if I select this cylinder, it's loaded, and now it coexists with the cube that I already had in my model. So these are two separate bodies in the same model. Now, if you bring in some model from an Onshape Part Studio, like for example this cube here, the process takes a few seconds. In case the scale of your model within Onshape is very different than the scale within Vi, you'll get a notification. And the model will come in both as an editable Vi model, but also as a reference model, which is the green version. We'll talk about reference models in the next video, but for now I'll just hide this. So this block has been translated from an Onshape Part Studio into the Vi representation, and you can work on it, deform it in any way you want, and so on. Bear in mind that currently not all of the Onshape Part Studios will be successfully converted into Vi models. There are some requirements which may not be met. In that case, the model will come in as a reference only, and we'll discuss in the next video what you can do with it. What we presented in this tutorial is summarized in this image, where you see Phi in the middle, the Onshape document on top, and your local file system at the bottom of this image. You can save or load your work from Phi in the Phi format, either within the Onshape document or on your local file system. Alternatively, you can send your work over to your Onshape document in a Part Studio, or bring in a design from an Onshape Part Studio into Phi, and finally, you can also export your work by saving it into STEP or STL files.